smart though. My brother just said, "Good job, bro. Your time." Oh, what up? No lie, I was actually talking to my damn self just now. So yeah, that was kind of awkward. I was doing that on camera. My bad. Big jump. Anyway.
Physical inactivity, have to imagine.
What up, though?
There's at least some crossover there. Yeah, there absolutely is. The exercise the studies show they grow across the Hemphill campus is an area that can be shocking to people who have depression. So this is why the APA now advocates that psychiatrists recommend exercise to a lot of their patients. But I think I reported this book is I spent more than a month hunting with Donnie Vincent in the Arctic backcountry.
Shout out to Johnny Vincent, you handsome bastard.
Yeah.
We were talking about you earlier.
Handsome, rugged bastard. For people who don't know him, he's a backcountry bow hunter and filmmaker. He goes out into, super extreme, off-the-grid areas.
Yeah, we were saying he's controversial, but not for any real reason. He's controversial because he doesn't wear camo, and he wears like a lot of wool.
He looks good in the wild.
It does look, yeah, he looks like a fucking model for some J. Crew catalog out there wandering around. What would be like an Abercrombie and Fitch, which I didn't know used to be like a little offside here, was a company that sold like fly fishing and outdoor stuff. Now it's like these weird young models, really young. There's Donnie Vincent. Look at that rugged, handsome bastard.
Yeah, he's
look at him. Look at him.
He looks like he's walking out of a Filson catalog.
He does.
Right there.
Completely.
Good dude. Good dude.
Yeah,
love that guy.
Very good. Very good guy. Abercrombie and Fitch, like now when you go there, they spray that fucking horrible scent. in the place, you know? Do they still do that COVID-wise? Maybe it's bad for COVID, kills COVID.
I would imagine it kills it. Yeah.
It kills everything.
I had a friend who worked there, and she said, like, every 20 minutes, we have to do, like, 20 sprays. There's some, like, very
So
specific
crazy.
number.
It stinks in there. But that used to be a company that made outdoor stuff. So, like, people who wanted to go fly fishing.
Yeah.
And now it's like these, they look like they're like 18 models in the
Yeah.
poses. They're all like real slender, and they look like real slinky. You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you can pull up a photo of like Abercrombie and Fitch models.
They were the ones that would put the shirtless dudes out at their store in New York, right?
Actual shirtless dudes?
Actual shirtless dudes would be on the street, you know,
Oh,
in their
really?
Abercrombie
Yeah.
jeans. Yeah. It was,
I was just looking it up though.
Ridiculous.
Even when it was a hunting company back in 1900, it started in Manhattan.
Really?
So,
there you go.
I mean, it was, but it was.
Yeah, but
made for that
1900
day.
in Manhattan, like everybody hunted back then. Like you would go up to the Poconos and shit, and people would,
To the
they would
Poconos,
leave.
that's where
So
I'm-
these guys were like
So
wandering
where I'm at.
around New York City with no shirts on,
Yeah.
looking good, boys. Look, go back to that photo,
Which one?
the one you just showed. The guys up there. No, the other one. Yeah, look at the guy on the far right, bro. You're about to show your cock. This is ridiculous. It's all dick root, right? Showing the dick root. So what is the purpose of this? Like to get people? They're wearing flip flops too. Flip flops, jeans, no shirt, and open jacket.
Probably like January too, right?
Yeah, probably cold as shit. And they're all flexing constantly. Look at them.
Yeah. Tough work if you can get it.
Well, you know, you're dealing from a very small sample pool to be able to be that guy. I mean, these guys all have like 7% body fat. But it used to be an outdoor company, and that was like what they sold. They sold like canoes and shit, I think. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
It's
you're
like an
right.
old catalog, right?
Yeah.
Like fly fishing gear and stuff.
Yeah. Outerwear, kind of that
Yeah.
old school cool stuff. A lot of canvas, like
they're-
wax.
Yeah, look at this. Abercrombie and Fitch, yeah. Canoe, guys shooting ducks out of a canoe.
Why don't they put those guys out in Manhattan on the street? I would much rather buy from them.
Because people would go back to Texas!
Is that a
Get
gun?
out of here! We don't need
Chilling,
guns
chilling,
around here.
listening to some Joe
But they
Rogan.
do. Meanwhile, they do. There's a mass shooting in Times Square yesterday.
Oh yeah, jeez.
Chilling. Friday afternoon after work. I done made it through the work week. Sitting in the studio doing my little thing, you know what I'm saying? Listening to some Joe Rogan with a doobie. Oh, you better believe it's relaxation time for real over here. Mm-mm. Oh yeah. Chilling on a Friday afternoon, bro. Hope everybody else is in good spirits and good health. Because I am. Gotta get some work done on this mission, please. I'll probably work on this for a couple hours, and then tomorrow morning I'll take this down and try to at least prep these two canvases, get them outlined and get them toned, and then put them back to the side and come back to this right here. Yo, I had to cut grass today. Yo, my allergies been killing me all day. I cut grass early this morning. Yo, I've been sneezing and stuffy. My eyes are fucking itchy all fucking day long, yo. That pollen really got me today. I can't stop sneezing, yo. Ooh, tacos and tequila. Boy, that sound like a good evening right there. And you with the homies too? Fuck that. Yeah. That sound like a good one. Shit, me and my homie, we grilled some steaks the other day. That shit was Wednesday. Yeah, we grilled some steaks on Wednesday. No, Tuesday. We grilled steaks on Tuesday. Hung out for a little while. Had some motherfucker brought me a Cuban cigar and left me 2 cigars, yo. Out there drinking some tequila, smoking a fucking Cuban cigar, eating some fucking steak and salad. That was a good ass day. But tequila and tacos, That shit sound good too, yo. There is one Mexican restaurant, man. They make the bomb ass fish tacos. Oh my god, yo. The fish tacos be slamming. It was a hot one today too. Jeez, boy. I'm kind of happy though. You know, that it's finally like the cold snap is over. But I sweat today. And I had to take the truck to get fucking inspection, new inspection stickers put on it for the year. And the truck ain't got no AC in it, yo. My God, I was fucking melting in that shit. I gotta get a new truck soon, man. I gotta swap that shit out. Cause my mechanic told me he can fix the fucking AC and shit, but it need a new blower and all that, like a new blower motor. He's like, man, I gotta rip down the whole dash to put that shit in here. Like, that's damn near $2,000 job. I was like, hold off on that shit, man. $2,000, shit. I could put that towards a whole new vehicle, man. I only paid fucking $3,500 for that truck. I've had it for about 6 years. And the most expensive work I put into it was some front end work that was like $1,500. I hit a fucking nasty ass pothole, fucked my whole alignment up, man, and fucking like bent some shit, man. I had to get all the front end done over. And I was like, after that, I'm not putting that much more money into this fucking truck. You know what I'm saying? It's a utility just to move my art around. That's all I really got that shit for to start with, is so I can have a way to move my art. It's not like well, when I first got it, everything was working on it, and I did drive it almost like as my daily driver. But I don't know, I've always been a car guy. I just like cars over trucks and SUVs. That's what I'm saying, man. He say parts and labor. He said that it'd be damn near $2,000 to get there because the heat and the AC went out. He's like, bruh. I'm like, I'm good. Hold off. You know what I'm saying? I ride with the windows down on that bitch. I roll the windows down. I'm not putting $2,000 just into the heating system. And it passed inspection. You know what I'm saying? That the AC and the heater just don't work. Everything else fine on that shit. Got a good engine, transmission still good, and like I say, the front end, that shit got new rotors all around that shit. All the brakes and brake drums are new, and the fluids, I keep the fluids good. Like, it does have like some small issues, but and plus it's a 2006, so that shit getting up in age. I'm just find something newer. I always say this shit. Ever since I got that Lexus, I love fucking Lexus now, man. If I don't get like a Toyota SUV, I'm gonna get me a Lexus SUV, yo. One of them. My girl, she about to buy an SUV. She looking at the RAV4, yo. I can probably get. I was thinking about, yo, Puff, what up, bro? Oh, I ain't riding with no Aaron, no South Carolina. Nigga, you crazy. Man, you be like a chocolate bar of that shit, melting like hell, bro. I can't do that. Hell nah. Yeah, but maybe I was thinking like 1,700 for that shit, yo. It's a 2006, and like I said, it has some issue. That bitch just bust off soon. It ain't got no real mechanical issues, but like all that other shit, like the brake sensor light is on, but there's nothing wrong with the brakes. You know what I'm saying? Even the emergency brake works well, and the regular brakes work well. Like, but the fucking brake light is on for some reason. And the check engine light, that should have come on and off. Like, it's weird. Like, if it gets low in gas, it might be just the gas cap, but if you get like below a half a tank of gas, it seemed like the fucking check engine light will come on. But as soon as you fill the tank up, the light will go out. They got like little dumb shit like that. And shit, I only paid 35 for that bitch, yo. I ain't, man, shit. I sell that shit for 1,700 and put like another 3 or 4 grand with that shit and just go get something else, man. No, no, bro. Damn. Somebody hit the caddy. Oh, was it your fault, man? Come on, man. Hey, we all friends in here, bro. You know what I'm saying? You can you can let us know if it was your fault. Oh, okay. I believe you. I believe you, Puff. But that right there, Wrangler, yo, the Jeep Wrangler is one of the only vehicles. Man, that shit like the Air Force One, bro. The Jeep Wrangler is like the Air Force One. They don't change that shit. That shit been the same way. And there, I seen this one meme. It was like, uh, the Chevy Blazer or Trailblazer, and they showed the very first one, then they showed the new one, and then it was the another fucking SUV and or like a little pickup, and the Ford they showed some Ford, was it the F-150 or something? They showed the older model, then they showed the newer one, and it was something else, and then they showed the old Jeep and the new Jeep, and it's like, nigga, I don't change, like like that shit's still the same fucking car, yo. That shit just built. That Wrangler, they just built that shit like that, yo. Ain't no need to change too much on that shit, yo. What up, Hazel? Ain't no need to really change that shit. And then they just put the Gladiator out because motherfuckers been begging for a Jeep pickup for 20 fucking years, and it was like, fuck it, let's just add a bed onto that shit. I be seeing them Gladiators everywhere, yo. I ask some motherfucker like the Jeep fanatics, they been waiting for that shit, yo. Oh, nah. Alright. King Guap. What is that? One of my homies got a red Wrangler. Oh, damn. Alright, I see. He just like reviews the song lyrics. That's what's up. I'm gonna have to check out his segment on there, yeah. Oh my god. God damn, yo. I can't not stop sneezing. And I took some Benadryl, yo. Are you done yet? Are you done? Sniff some water. Like smell water, or literally sniff it like you're doing a line of coke. Cause I can sniff something and smell it, or you can like sniff something and inhale it. But if you sniff water, you're gonna drown. I don't want to drown. I just want to stop sneezing. He said sniff a little bit of water, yo, and see what happens. What that shit supposed to clean out your nasal passage or something? Nah. I don't think I want to try that, bruh. You let me see you do it first. If you do it first, then I'll do it. Just a little bit. Just a teaspoon, man. All you need is a teaspoon. Sniff that shit. You stop sneezing. You start gagging. I don't need to risk my nasal cavities. Shit. I've been blowing my nose all day. Alright, so God damn. I was working on 1, 2. So I have 3 commissions that I'm working on, but I can't seem to find the other picture. I don't know where that other picture is at.
This cabin, he makes his cabin out of just stuff that he finds out in the wild, right?
Yeah.
But like, he had it almost fashioned like a normal home from the 50s, and like, how did you figure out all this shit?
Yeah, this place is beautiful too. It's such a sweet looking little cabin. I mean, look, he's got a gold painting out there in the front. He's got snowshoes hanging from the side of it. And it's like super cool. Yeah, and he built all that himself. He built everything. I mean, he even built his own tools. He brought part of the tools with him, like whatever he would need, like for sure. But the video is pretty crazy, like to see him out there. And it's just, again, this is like, I don't know what year, this is 77. One Man's Alaska, 1977. So he filmed all this and made these videos. Yeah, you can see how he made tools and all sorts of different things.
Super cool.
Yeah, he made his own like canoes and shit. He filmed all this because he knew that what he was doing was pretty extraordinary. Look at that. A ship where he keeps his food or something like that. And went out there once, I believe, and then just decided that was where he was going to live. And was out there with no contact with people at all for long periods of time. Go to that last.
Yeah, there's a documentary that
Second one, right? Second one down. Yeah.
So these are the 3 paintings I'm working on right now.
This is the one that's one of the ones. It goes into great depth about how he built this cabin and what his history was, and then he just became obsessed with the idea of being in nature and how how much he loved it. And he lived there until he was in his 80s, and then went to stay with his brother because his health was failing. He was the last dude in his life. I think he was in Washington State. But here it shows him making various tools. He's like a wood auger to make a hammer with, and makes a wood mallet. Did the whole deal. He made everything. But he got just this tremendous satisfaction, and talked about the tremendous satisfaction he got from just being allowed to live this subsistence life.
Yeah. See videos on YouTube where people are doing this similar thing, where they'll show themselves make an entire log cabin.
Yeah, I have
In
seen
the
some of
woods.
them, yeah.
Dig a hole and make wood or
That was the whole appeal of that show, Lag Below Zero. Those folks that would live up there and live that subsistence life. But it's like, we're all aware that there is this immense gravity that comes from the digital world.
Let's get a little bit of painting done.
Immense. It's constant distractions, and this fucking thing you and I are on. That's what's ironic. We're talking shit about what we actually are doing right now. But they, they pull you. They pull you. And we all know that it's probably not the best way to live. But it's so hard to break the addiction.
I mean, it's amazing, right? It's amazing that I can pull a podcast and listen to almost whoever I want, their thoughts and their ideas. And at the same time, it's like, if that's all you're spending your time doing, there's some downsides. We need to offset it. That I don't necessarily think the answer is to go live in the woods in Alaska. Like, well, that's cool what you did. More power to you. But figuring out like how do we balance this all and have these moments where we have solitude, go more inward and aren't as stimulated. So one thing that, after I'm standing out there in solitude, when I get home, I start researching, what are the benefits of solitude? Because we know that the data shows that being lonely isn't good for us, but there's the difference between loneliness and solitude. Like solitude is electing to be by yourself and using that time for sort of introspection. And scientists that I talked to, they said, yeah, you really need this because a lot of times people are more conductor circuits and they don't do well when they're alone at all. This is part of the reason we have such a loneliness problem. But you can build this capacity to be alone, they call it. Like that can serve you well for a long time. And it also breeds deeper thinking, creativity. I mean, it's like there's a reason that thousands of years of religious tradition, they have people who go and spend this time alone out in nature. I mean, Jesus was in the desert for 40 days. Buddha exited the palace gates, and spent a bunch of time alone in solitude. Even Abraham Lincoln used solitude and for a lot of his writing and stuff like that. And those people don't have it.
Did very little, and society discourages this kind of solitude. Society encourages you to be constantly connected, and the more it can get you connected, the more it can extract revenue from you.
Yeah. And we often frame it as a negative. I mean, think of what we do with kids who misbehave. We put them in timeout. Think of what we do to prisoners who misbehave. Solitary confinement. So we framed it as a negative, but it isn't necessarily.
Yeah, it's a different kind of solitude than obviously, right? You heard of this Utah lady, she was eating grass and moss. She disappeared for 5 months, and they thought she was dead, and they found her camping. And I don't think she's doing well. I don't think this is a good example. I think this lady's kind of crazy.
I just saw that headline.
Yeah.
You guys are saying these words.
Yeah, meanwhile, I'm just talking shit out of the headline I read too. Because it was like, the headline I said she was surviving off moss and grass. Oh my God, it's like,
It says she was released from the hospital. So, I don't know.
Mental health hospital?
I think so. It's just room for evaluations is what I read, but I wish she just wanted to be alone.
Isn't that funny? Like, they find you camping, they're like, we don't, this is not really.
The hell's wrong
check
with you?
Make sure that you're okay mentally. Why aren't you in an apartment where you can hear people screaming?
Yeah, exactly.
Why aren't you eating fast food? What are you doing eating moss? Yeah, you crazy bitch.
Totally.
Yeah, or you're living in Austin and you're just camping on Cesar Chavez. Yeah.
Could do that.
When you guys were up there, did you have a set amount of time? Did 33 days? Was that what you agreed upon before you went out there?
Yeah.
Was there a reason for that?
We just thought, I mean, Donnie was just like, I am going up for more than a month. You want to come along? Yeah,
Why
sure.
was he going for that long?
It's just what he does for work. You know, he embeds himself in these places for long periods of time and does these films. So he's a good person to go with. I'll tell you that much. I mean,
sure.
he knows what he's doing up there, and he's one of those dudes who's kind of unflappable in situations like that. Like, for example, this was I think our first or second night. We had this Fargo teepee, you know, and we're very, very intelligent people. I want you to know this first of all. We pitched this thing on this like kind of knob because the winds are coming in from a direction. We're like, oh, it's going to be protected, and then we'll move it when the wind shift in a couple of days. Well, the wind shift overnight. I wake up and there's just like this pop, 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 you know, and the winds just keep coming, get faster and faster, and eventually by morning, I mean, they're like 70-mile-an-hour gusts. And I'm just like, shit, this thing. And I'm like, what do we do after that? Like, it's just crazy. It's freezing, you know. And
You didn't bring a tent. You just brought one of those little.
yeah, that
tarps?
teepee. The teepee.
That was it?
Yeah.
How come you guys didn't bring an actual tent?
Well, if we needed one, we had like, you know, emergency blankets and that stuff. And Donnie could have messaged to the pilot to try and bring us something. But yeah, and he's just like, okay, we're gonna have to do it. He's like, this is bad. We're gonna have to do takedown. You're gonna get all your shit ready, get it in your bag. And it's just like, he just knows exactly what to do. Yeah.
And we should probably explain to people the terrain.
Yeah. So it's these mountains that they're not super jagged. They're very old, so they've kind of been worn by time. And the tundra is the absolute worst thing to walk on in the world. So I describe it as, think of like a Dr. Seuss book. I kind of picture it like that, where it's like this big mattress that's covered in basketballs. Like think about it like that. So the basketballs are these things called tundra tussocks, which are these big, dense pieces of grass. It's like wound up grass, and then the mattress in between them is kind of like muck and shale and frozen ground. So walking on this, you're like, do I step on this super soft stuff that's hard to get your bearings on? It's kind of like beach sand, same idea. Or do I like step on these tussocks that are super awkward? It's like having to walk anywhere. I mean, like 1 mile out there is like 5 anywhere else. You know, it's just such a bitch to walk on.
Which did you choose? The soft stuff or the tussocks?
I never really
Go back and forth?
Yeah, I would go back and
Did you
forth.
ask Donnie what he does?
I can't remember if I did. I don't know if he would have known either because he was looking like he was walking as well.
So there's not much you can do to be comfortable as you're walking.
No, you know, occasionally you'll find some game trails. Those can be good. They're kind of, you know, a little bit more worn. Oftentimes they're along mountain faces though, and you know the animals on 4 legs are a bit more sure-footed than we are on our shitty 2 legs. So all of a sudden you're slipping because of shale. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's
And so how many miles did you have to traverse on this stuff?
some days we would probably our longest day was maybe 15 total in the day. Yeah, we had one day, we had seen this herd, and so we're kind of chasing them more or less, and we ended up, you know, 7-ish miles from camp, and decided we needed to, you know, head back to the teepee now, and it was so freaking cold. It was like, you know, 0 out, and we've got this long march across the tundra, and part of what we had to go through then was like this sort of frozen swamp, you know, so sometimes your foot would break through into this sort of moving water, and it was one of those where I'm like, why in the hell am I out here? What am I doing? Like, this is stupid, you know?
What day was this?
This was a ways into it. I don't know, maybe like 15.
No, what if you guys had been successful early? Like, what if you ran into a herd like on the second or third day?
Then we wouldn't have been so damn hungry.
But you were going to stay out there no matter what.
Yeah, we were going to stay out there no matter what. Yeah, because, I mean, you know, Donnie, he wants footage, and I signed on because I wanted to experience that, you know, so we would have stayed up there.
Now, did you guys have a lot of supplies in terms of food, or were you living off your back?
We were mostly living off our back, yeah.
So you had a large backpack.
Yeah.
Heavy backpack.
Quite heavy.
Filled with Mountain House. Yeah, you probably had that.
Yeah.
Delicious gruel.
Well, there's actually some companies that make good versions of that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is Chad Mendes' company called? Is it Peak? Peak Fitness? Peak Fuel? Is that what his is called? My friend Chad Mendes is a former UFC fighter. He's a hunter as well.
Okay.
He's got a really good company that make Refuel. Peak
Refuel.
Refuel. His stuff is excellent. And it's really healthy stuff. Like, their companies are making it now where, they're making it with much more healthy ingredients, no trans fats, no bullshit, and preservatives.
Yeah.
They're just dehydrating everything.
That looks good. I could have used that.
Yeah. There's other companies. And there's nothing wrong with Mountain House if you're hungry.
Yeah.
It's okay. But my God, the gas.
Yeah.
The gas is outstanding.
And there's no fiber in that, so
Yeah.
over
some of
time
them,
that starts to
become an issue.
present a problem.
Yeah. Well, that's a squat and drop, right?
Right. So that, I mean, we think about all the ways that we've removed activity from our lives. I mean, you can think about that. It used to be that, like, if you needed to shit, you're going to have to hold a squat for a minute there, buddy. You know?
Right.
And having to go out and do that, it was like, oh man, like, it was just kind of like, oh yeah, I guess we now sit on these nice porcelain toilets.
And you have to make sure you don't shit into your pants.
You have to do that. That is helpful.
Did you shower? I mean, bathe rather? Did you get in a stream? Like, how did you clean yourself?
No.
Or just nothing.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Which is interesting coming from a world of, so I was there pre-COVID, so it was interesting coming from a world of Purell and shower or two a day, and now it's even more so, for good reason, but there's also, there's benefits to being dirty, especially if it's outside dirtiness, not like indoor dirtiness, like raw chicken and other people's germs. But
What's the benefits?
So, when you look at cultures who live outside and do a lot of things outside, they tend to have a lot better gut health than we do. So, one of the hunter-gatherer tribes that's been studied is the Hadza in Tanzania. And they did this one study where they compared poop, because that's how you figure out gut health, from Westerners and the Hadza tribe. And the Hadza have way more different types of gut bacteria, and they also have these ones that we don't have. So they have more of it, and they have more variety of it. Now, they don't get stomach issues, basically. They don't get colon cancer, they don't get rectal cancer, and they don't get things like Crohn's and colitis. Meanwhile, in the West, these are increasing problems, especially for younger people, and they think this is because we've completely sanitized our lives, more or less. We never get dirty, and we spend less time outside. So when we figured out that germs are bad and can cause disease, like, yes, but the amount of germs that cause disease relative to all the germs out there is a very small percentage, but we kind of just went ahead and killed all the germs we could, and so this has given us less of a defense and given us less variety in our guts that can improve our gut health.
Yeah, my friend David Cho is an artist.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very famous artist. He got really rich. Was it Google that he painted their lobby? Facebook? He painted their
that guy.
lobby. Yeah, and they gave him shares of the company back when it was nothing. And he's worth like $100 million or more or something. Crazy enough, right? It's preposterous amounts of cash.
It's a good gig.
And he just does whatever he wants. Mostly he does art. He does a lot of painting and a lot of weird creative endeavors. But he decided to live with the Hadza for a while.
Did he really?
Yeah. And so he went there, and they were like hunting baboons.
Yeah.
They eat a lot of baboons apparently. It's just wild. And he explained what it was like being out there.
What do you say about it?
It's really intense. She has some pretty amazing photographs from the experience, but it's just a real reality check of what it means to be alive and what it means to try to thrive and survive in a subsistence lifestyle in a camp filled with people who've been doing this their entire life, and they allow you in, and they do that occasionally with Westerners. They'll allow you to come with them. And it was just like, God, it was like, we realized how
how shape he was, how soft he was in comparison to them, and how difficult their life is. And it puts into perspective how many things you take for granted. Oh, we totally take so many things for granted. I mean, when we got back, the first thing we did is we're in this airport in Kotzebue, and the airport is like a shed, a big shed more or less, right? But it has running heated water, and so I go in and I pee, and I get to the faucet, and it hits me. Holy shit, this is running water. Turn it on hot, and it's just like, I mean, I had the biggest shit-eating grin on my face from that hot water. It was like, oh my god, this is unbelievable, because out there, anytime we needed water, it's like we gotta hike down to a stream, fill up these water bags, hike them back up to camp, and everything is equitable. So having these moments where you get out of that, sort of comfort zone that we're used to, it helps you become a lot more appreciative of everything that we have. I mean, and we had another one where I was just telling you we had to go back out across, back through the tundra to get back to the teepee that one night. I mean, that was one of those where, it hit me, if we would have quit, like, you can't quit. You have to just keep going, because if you stay out there overnight, I mean, that's a lot more dangerous than just putting one foot in front of the other and thinking about it. And, before I went up to Alaska, like, for example, my wife and I, we go to this restaurant all the time, and the food is amazing, but the service is not quite there. And before I get to Alaska, like, I would just sit there as we're waiting, being like, oh, this place is so mismanaged. What's wrong with these people? Can't you get your shit together? Can't you just refill that person's water? Like, move people out in a normal way. All these complaints go through my mind, right? So then I get back, and we go to that restaurant, and I think back to getting back to that teepee after that long haul and having like shitty mountain house dinner and being freezing cold, and I can stand there and be like, man, this isn't bad at all. You guys do what you need to do. I'm about to eat 2,000 calories, and I'm warm, and I'm happy, and this is awesome.
All you have to do is point at the thing on the menu that you'd like.
Yes, exactly.
And tell them, yeah, the T-bone, please.
Yes.
And they come and bring it.
Totally. And so it makes you so much more appreciative, And it also sort of made me less of an asshole, because once you're appreciative, you're slightly less of a nitpicky person, which, imagine if we could put 5% less of an asshole at scale for everyone.
My friend Dan Dobie actually does that with young, troubled men. He takes them on these experiences in the woods, as sort of rites of passage type deal, like a lot of like young guys, particularly ones from affluent households who really don't have any challenges in their life, and takes them and has them like live in the woods with them for like weeks and weeks at a time. Wow, takes them on these camping trips. Dan was one of the producers of this show called Meat Eater, which that was the first show that I ever had a hunting experience on. And the hunting experience was in Montana, in the Missouri Breaks, and it was 9 degrees outside, and we're camping, and we did it for I guess it was 6 or 7 days, and we were successful. And came back with the deer, and then we went to this place, I believe it was Billings. We went to this just ratchet fucking motel that we stayed in, and took a hot shower, and it was phenomenal. It was like one of the best experiences of my life. Like, so pleasurable to be in this ratchet ass fake wood paneling. You know what I mean? Like the whole deal.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing nice about this motel room.
Except there's everything nice about it.
Oh my god, the fucking shower was glorious. And I had brought my own soap. Because I travel with.
That's good planning.
This is soap that I use called Defense soap, and it's got it was developed for grapplers, but it's all to protect your skin from skin issues like water and stuff like that. But my friend Guy Sacco created it for wrestlers, and it's all like tea tree oil and eucalyptus oil, so it's really good for it. So I'm in this shower, I got this like legit soap, and I'm lathering up, and the water's so hot. I must have took a 40-minute shower, man. I never got out of there. I was in there forever.
I love that.
I was so happy.
That was me too, except I didn't have custom made awesome soap. That was a miss.
Fucking Eddie soap would have been fine at that time.
Yeah.
Or just the smell too. God, you fucking stink so bad after a week of no shower, and you went 33 days.
Oh, I smelled like a salmon run mixed with a garbage dump.
Now, how long into your hunt did you get food? Did you catch?
Yeah, we were a couple
catch
weeks
fish
in.
or
No,
you
we
didn't
got
catch
a
any
caribou.
fish? You did get caribou.
Yeah.
Oh, so it was 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
So you were mountain house for 2 weeks.
Mountain house, bars, yeah.
Mm.
Then we had caribou. When that caribou came in, it was just like, honestly, that caribou was the best meal I've ever had in my life in that teepee, because food is like, it's a culmination of how hungry are you, who are you with, what is the experience. It honestly was so unbelievably good in that moment.
Were you guys in a place that actually had dry wood?
We found a little bit. It was tough. It was tough.
So how did you cook?
We had a little
Jet boils?
Yeah. Jet boils. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's the thing about Alaska, particularly that area. It's a lot of it is just tundra. It's like this open, I don't know if you call it tundra, but
On
whatever
and
it is.
on, yeah.
Just long stretches of grass.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not that many animals either. That's what's weird, right? You'd imagine
Yeah.
the real wild, you'd imagine, animals all over the place, just
Yeah.
fucking jacking each other. No.
Yeah. Except so we were there during the migration, and there were none until they were literally everywhere. I mean, it was like a war film where like all the soldiers come over the hill all at once, and the hands on an animal. It was just like, holy shit, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
And they're eating that weird moss stuff too, right? What's that shit called?
Yeah, like lichen,
Lichen,
moss,
yeah.
There's just all kinds of little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you can eat that too. Like humans can eat that lichen stuff.
Yeah, it
It's
tastes.
tasteless.
No, it tastes a little bit like green beans.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, you guys had it?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's not like we're making a salad with it, but you're just sitting there and like, I guess it's not too bad.
Did you have a tag as well, or did only?
Yeah, I had a tag. So I had never hunted before. I mean, I'd been hunting, but I hadn't actually been the one who was the hunter. So that was new too. That's a form of discomfort that I talk about in the book, that we are very removed from the life cycle now. Right? So this goes from how we deal with funerals. Think of modern funeral. It's like we dress the dead person up to look as alive as possible. We look at them for an hour, and then they go to the ground, and we're told to, keep your mind off it. Don't think about it. Stay busy. To our food system, it's like the meat we have in our grocery store is all perfectly manicured. It's cellophaned. It's like designed almost so it doesn't look like it came from a living animal, right? So I definitely had some reservations going into it. It's not that I was against hunting at all. It's just like, I don't know if I want to cross this barrier that I assume is going to be emotionally heavy.
Right.
And Donnie was basically like, look, man, if you don't want to hunt, you don't have to hunt. But I think you'll understand why we come out here more if you do hunt. So I was like, okay, I think I'll do it. I wasn't entirely sure, honestly, the whole time. And
So you had a tag, but you weren't sure if you were going to use it.
yeah, and we, at one point we are on this hill glassing, and we've been watching this herd who was on this other hill far away. There's kind of a valley between us, and they start moving up this valley, and there's a saddle. And Donnie's like, okay, if they keep moving and go over that saddle, and we can get to the other side of it before, we're going to be in a pretty good position. So it's like, soldiers at the sound of a mortar, we're like just cranking across this hill. We get over the saddle, and once we get to the other side, just cranking it, what we think is going to be about 300 yards, we like get into the dirt and we army crawl. And I've got the, meanwhile I have the rifle. And army crawl a couple hundred yards, pop up, can't see anything, another 100 yards. And I'm looking through the scope, and Donnie has binoculars, and all of a sudden at the apex of the saddle just like appear these antlers, right? And then more antlers, and there's about 30 of them in this herd, and we'd already identified at least 2 that we thought were older and bigger. And they come over this saddle and down like exactly as we'd hoped, and you know, they're 300 yards, 200 yards, and still at this point I'm like, you sure you're gonna do this, man? You know, I mean, it's heavy, and they get within about 150 yards, and there's this one that had come over that we could see as he was walking. He's limping on his back leg, so it's like, that's the one. You know, he's old, really, really interesting, ornate antlers, just old dude who had clearly been injured somehow. Who knows? They get within 150 yards, and it's like, this is the point where I want to shoot, but kept going in and out of the herd. You know, like I couldn't get him in the scope, and Donnie sort of leans over to me. He's like, "Hey man, if you don't want to shoot, you don't have to shoot. But if you're gonna shoot, you need to do it soon." And so I looked down the scope, and they're 160, 170. They passed the point where they're kind of going away from us. And I'm like, shit, what do I do? And all of a sudden, they part, and he's right there, you know? And it's like, big deep breath, pull the trigger again, and it's like he's down. And in that moment, I was like, holy shit, what have you done? Like, there is no coming back from this, right? Like, it hit me pretty heavy. And so we walk out, and it's, you know, down on the tundra, almost like it had been placed perfectly. There's the only sign that it is dead is there's like this tiniest trickle of blood coming down its mane. And I was like, dude, what have you done? Like, look at this majestic thing, and that's on you, you know? And Donnie's a good person to go with, because him and William were like, hey, we're going to go get our stuff, because we left our packs back there, so he gave me a minute with it. And as I'm sitting there, it was super interesting. I'd like to hear what you think about what your experience has been, but hit me like it was the most depressed and alive I've ever felt at the same time. Like, unbelievable feeling. I don't know how to describe it. Just thankful.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of gratuity. And, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know if I'd ever do this again, you know, and those guys get back, and then we start to, you know, field dress the animal. And in that moment, my mind started to shift, because I went from, okay, you just killed this majestic creature, to now I'm seeing it as meat, and therefore a giver of life, more or less. And I think to myself, dude, you eat meat all the time at home, and never once do you feel an iota of emotion, but you do here. And so it made me a lot more appreciative of not only like that animal and the place where it came from, but also all meat that I eat now, right? It totally woke me up to like what goes into eating meat. And so now it's interesting, paradoxically, you would think when someone starts hunting, they would eat a lot more meat. It's like, no, I actually eat less meat now, because I kind of better understand where it comes from and what has to go into it. And sort of this idea of death and being more aware of it, after I got back from the Arctic, I traveled to Bhutan. I wanted to know more about this and like what can becoming more aware of our death do for us. So Bhutan is interesting because it's one of the least developed countries on Earth, but paradoxically, it's one of the happiest. And one thing that people are instructed to do in Bhutan is to think about their death at least once every day. And this is part of like, it's woven into the culture, that idea, and also the idea of death itself. So like a lot of their art and traditions center around death. They have, there's these little things called sasas, and they're basically these tiny clay pyramids. And it's clay mixed with ashes of the dead, and they are everywhere, all over the country. So it's you can kind of think about it as like a very death-aware country.
Why are they so death-aware?
It's part of the Buddhist tradition that they follow. They've just sort of leaned into that more than other countries. And so I wanted to know, like, how does this idea of death and their intimacy with it contribute to their happiness? Because, like, by all metrics, they should be miserable if we're looking at it from an economic perspective, right? But here they are. They're in the top 20 happiness rankings. And so I met with one of their economist who studies happiness in the country. But I also met with 2 Buddhist leaders, and one of these, it's pretty wild. So in Bhutan, the law states that you have to have a driver everywhere you go. The tourism is very heavily regulated. So I have this driver, and I'm going to meet this guy who's a Khenpo, which is essentially really high up in Buddhism, and he lives right by this monastery called the Karpo. And it's on this cliff, right? And my driver has what is essentially a smart car with a back seat. And we have to go up this mountain road, cliffside mountain road that's totally rutted out. I'm like, are you going to make this? And he's just like, I mean, we're like four-wheeling this smart car thing. It was unbelievable. And after 45 minutes, he pulls over, and I have to hike for maybe 10 minutes along this trail and get to this guy's shack, and he has someone there who's helps him with stuff, and she makes me do this like cleansing ritual with like smoke and some water, and I go into this guy's shack. It's like the first room, there's nothing in it. Second room, it's a kitchen, very basic, like a cooktop or whatever. And the third room has this silk sort of drape in it, and I pull that drape back, and I'm immediately hit with the smell of burning incense. And on the right, there's this, there's like a big statue of Buddha and like photos and different little, trinkets, Buddhist trinkets. And then I look over, and the light is like catching this incense smoke, and behind it, there's this guy's face, and he just looks over at me, and he's in the lotus position on this platform. He's in this full like Buddhist robes and everything, and he just looks at me and goes, "Welcome." And it was like
Some Doctor Strange shit.
Oh, dude, it was like, I mean, if you want to talk about like cliche in terms of the gangly Western writer has come to see the guru, that was fucking it, dude.
Wow.
And so I talked to him for a few hours about death and like how do they view it there versus us, and he talks about it in terms of when you think about the fact that I'm going to die, you're going to die, we're all going to die eventually. You take that into your life, it changes your behavior, because you start to realize like there's going to be an end to all this, right? And things that maybe were finicky in your life, or these like little minute things that really work you up, that all starts to fade, and you start to really center on that which is going to make you actually happy in the end. And it's interesting because research by scientists has actually backed this up. So they've done studies where they have people think about their own death, and those people end up report that they're happier, that they're like more on track in their life. They've done this in people who are dying as well, where they like think about the end and accept it, sort of take it into their life. They have better lives. It's really interesting, and I mean, it's something I do in my own life, and I can tell you that I think it actually works.
Yeah, being aware of where this ride ends,
Right.
it's probably very important in terms of what you need to enjoy the ride. Like, if you just think it's going to go on forever. It's like you're saying about kind of being impatient about the wait staff at that restaurant and thinking what an inconvenience it is that they're so slow to get you water.
Yeah.
Versus what you feel after you've been hunting for 33 days and actually killed an animal. And yeah, we're so spoiled in terms of our attachment to food. I decided about 9 years ago that I was either going to become a vegan or I was going to become a hunter. I was like, there's no middle ground. I was like, I'm going to have to figure out what it means to eat. Because I would probably gone vegetarian, because I think I would always eat eggs, because it's especially if you have your own chickens, it's a pretty karma-free exchange. You give them food and they give you eggs.
Yeah.
It's like, and the eggs are super healthy. But when I did go hunting, the moment I shot that animal, the moment it was down, like you could actually watch it. There's a video that's available online. I had to shoot it twice. I shot it and dropped it at 200 yards, and then as we were getting up to the animal, it was still alive, and then I had to put it out.
Mm-hmm.
And they like closed in on my face when I'm taking all this in. And I shot it, and then it expired instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, just breathing in and just trying to take in, like, okay, I just killed an animal that I'm going to eat. And I've never done this before, and I'm 40.
Yeah.
You know, so here we are.
What was going through your head?
It would be hard for me to explain with just words, because it's a strange emotion. First of all, I didn't fully like you were saying, like once you start cutting it up and then it becomes meat, like when it was down, it was like, okay, I've done this thing. I've done a lot of things in my life that make me nervous, and I think I've always gravitated towards things that I think are difficult, that are scary, whether it's martial arts competition, or stand-up comedy, or anything. I gravitate towards things that I think are difficult because I'm attracted to these challenges. This was a challenge because it was a new thing. It was like, you know, you're doing this rugged thing. We floated down the river like 40 miles and
Oh, that's cool.
carried all of our supplies and tents and set up on the banks of the Missouri. And it was heavy. It was heavy. And so dropping this animal, but then once we cooked, we were eating it over the fire. That night we ate the liver. I think we ate the heart too,
Mm-hmm.
over the fire. And I remember thinking, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
This is how I'm going to eat. Like this is so much better than any other. I've never felt meat that tasted this good before. I've never felt connected to my food before. I've caught fish before and eaten fish, and it's great. But there's something that was so much more intense about this. I guess because it's a mammal, there's some weird connection where your DNA is letting you know that like this is way closer to you than a fish. Like
Yeah.
people, you can take a fish out of an ocean and take a photograph of it online. Nobody gives a shit. I had a thing I did on social media for a while.
Mhm.
I did a while back, rather, a hierarchy of dead animals on social media, and I had number one was a fish, and I was like a dead fish. Nobody gives a shit. Like you take a fish, look, I caught a bass. And everybody's like, hey, good job. Next was a turkey. I had a dead turkey that I shot. People were like, I don't know what's dead turkey. Then I had bear meat. It just said
How'd
bear
that go?
meat. Nobody said anything. They didn't know what to say because it was just meat.
Mm.
But there's photos of me with a dead bear, and it is the most hate I've ever gotten for any photograph online. Even though I ate that bear, and even though you have to shoot these bears because their population in Alberta, where my friends John and Jen run a hunting camp up there,
Mhm.
they're out of control.
Yeah.
And they need to control the population because they decimate the moose population, they decimate the deer population, they cannibalize each other. It's very unhealthy for them to not have predators. The only predators they have is larger, bigger bears,
Yeah.
grizzlies. So, but people, for whatever reason, have not connected bears with food for a long time.
Right.
In terms of the history of the United States, Daniel Boone was famous for being a bear hunter and commercially selling bear meat. And they would smoke bear hides, or smoke bear hams rather. And bear meat was actually preferred over deer meat for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And deer were hunted for their pelts, and bear were hunted for their meat. And we have decided that they're teddy bears.
Yeah.
And it's Yogi
Exactly.
and Boo, and those are our buddies. And it's a weird. We've just made this weird decision somewhere along the line to put, as my friend Steve Rennell calls them, charismatic megafauna. Put them in this category of animals that you should not eat or hunt.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the weird thing is they're the most dangerous. They're the ones that you really should hunt because they'll eat your kids.
Yeah.
Like a deer is not going to eat your kids.
No.
But a fucking bear will for sure. You leave a baby in a backyard, a bear will 100% eat it.
Oh yeah,
Not a question in the world.
totally.
Where a deer will just look at your baby and not care at all. Like, we have a weird arrangement.
Yeah.
But eating that animal and hunting that animal completely changed my idea of what food is. Completely. And from then on, I've had a completely different idea of what food is. And I've gone on to hunt. I've hunted every year since. It's something I look forward to. I get a giant amount of my meat from it. I give it to a lot of friends.
Mhm.
I keep 2 commercial freezers here at the studio. That's what I do now. I hunt meat,
Yeah.
and I'm healthier because of it.
Yeah.
I really do believe that elk meat in particular, that dark red wild animal that's running around the mountains, like you're getting it's so nutrient dense.
Super.
It's so much more filled with protein than domestic beef, and it's just better for you.
Yeah, I agree. Now the question is like, how do we put that at scale for everyone?
You can't.
Yeah. Well,
That's the thing, though. It's like you're not going to.
no, I do. I mean, I do think there's almost an argument though that maybe in elementary school we need to take kids to a slaughterhouse or junior high. Like that needs to be a field trip to understand
A lot
where
of
things.
vegetarians.
Yeah, you need to understand where things come from and like what goes into this.
I think this is a selfish proclamation, and I realize this going in. I think the idea of doing things at scale is lost. You gotta let it go. Let it go. You're not gonna save everybody. I feel like that with exercise. I feel like that with meditation. I feel like that with yoga. I feel like that with hunting. I feel like that with just trying to be the best person you can be. You're only going to reach the people that want to hear the message. And for the people that want to hear the message, those are the people that you're reaching to. But the idea of scale, the idea of like, how do you feel? Like, I've heard that argument from vegetarians or vegans that you shouldn't hunt because when you say you should hunt for your food, how are we going to do that with the entire population? We're not. You know what else we're not going to do with the entire population? Get them to read. You're not going to get them to exercise. You're not going to get them to do it. I'm not here for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for anybody who wants to listen. I'll tell you what I've done and what's changed me and what I think could maybe change you if you're so inclined to pursue it. But this idea of reaching the masses, Jesus Christ, you got to go back to when they're a baby. You got to start from scratch. You got to somehow or another put incentive in front of them. You got to give them motivation. You got to show them that there's a real reward in pursuing risk and then in doing difficult things and challenging themselves, even though it's hard. And there's moments, man, like to this day, even just doing stand-up comedy or doing anything that's hard. I mean, especially in the public eye, you face a lot of criticism. There's a lot of like days where it's like, God, is this really worth it?
Right.
But then you come out on the other end of it, and it is worth it.
Yeah.
But you have to recognize, you have to understand the process, and you have to recognize that through this struggle, eventually there'll be a resolution that'll be better. You'll learn, you'll get better at what you're doing. You'll be a better version of who you are because of this struggle.
Yeah.
But most people don't want to hear that shit. They just want comfort. They just want a softer seat to sit in, and they want a better sleeping pill.
Yeah.
So they can, go to bed at night.
Yeah, well, it's, when you choose the opposite path, you're fighting against millions of years of evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Because back in our past environments, everything took effort, everything was uncomfortable. To do the thing that made you most comfortable back then saved your life.
Yes.
It kept you out of crazy inclement weather, saved you from effort that just burned up calories that were hard to find. It helped you avoid risk. And so it was great.
Right.
Until nearly about 100 years ago, right after the Industrial Revolution.
To do a certain amount of difficult work
You had
just to
to.
survive.
It was part
You
of
had
life.
to.
Mm-hmm.
There was never a moment in history, unless you were like one of those really rich, overweight people that you see in those paintings.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't it amazing that those are the
Lords.
attractive people?
Yeah, I love
Like,
that.
when you see a guy that was like super fat or a woman who was like way overweight, they were the attractive ones.
Oh,
It's
it's
like,
flex.
look, they can eat so much.
Yeah.
They're just gorging themselves with food.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
What is that? There's weird things that people do with food when they get really, really wealthy and really opulent and it's just where there's so much food you can do whatever you want. But there's that. there's a bird. God damn it. There's this bird that they soak in brandy. It is like one of the craziest. It's a full whole bird that's soaked
Really?
in brandy, and it's a small bird. And they eat this thing. They would eat it. Duncan Trussell's the one who told me about this. They would eat it underneath like a tablecloth, and the idea was that you would get the smells of this thing in because it was like literally drowned in brandy, but also because you were shielding yourself from God. Yeah. What is it called again?
Depicted on the show Billions.
Oh, is it?
It's called Axe, I guess.
No, it's in.
Because he acts.
So you're like,
Yeah, no,
Well, that's the character's name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a real thing. No, what is it called? Or yeah, that's her. Ortolan. Yeah.
Okay.
So this Ortolan, they would put this. It's illegal. Well, I think it's illegal now because they're very endangered. But it's a very small bird, and like see if we can find like the preparation what it says there.
Look at that photo. Looks very, very appetizing.
Yeah, but that's from the movie. You eat the whole thing. Like it's
Okay.
not gutted or anything. It's enveloped in fat that tastes subtly like hazelnut. French chef Michael Girard told the paper in 2014. And to eat the flesh and the fat and the little bones hot all together is like being taken to another dimension. The fragile songbird from France, which weighs less than 1 ounce and is about the size of your thumb, was served exclusively to royalty and rich, what is that word? Gourmands.
Gourmands.
You know that word? I guess that's like someone who eats gourmet food.
Yes.
Until it became illegal in 1999. The procedure for preparing an ortolan has long been controversial. They are kept in darkness for weeks or are blinded, which causes the bird to gorge on grains and grapes and become fat, the key ingredient to its decadence when cooked. The birds are then thrown alive into a vat of, how does that work?
Use your best French.
Armagnac brandy, which both drowns and marinates them, then roasted. Ortolans are meant to be eaten feet first and whole, except for the beak, according to the Times. So this was like
That's
the thing to eat if you were one of those fat fucks in a painting.
yeah.
But arguably, barbaric preparation isn't why eating the bird is illegal. They are endangered with a decreasing population. The European Union declared ortolan a protected species in 1979, though France took 20 years to act on this. In 2014, Michelin-starred French chefs like Girard and Alain Ducasse were fighting to get the bird on their menus. Of course you were, you cunts. to revive a culinary dating back to Roman times. They wanted to be able to hunt and serve the bird. Hunt? Say that loosely, please.
Yeah.
After you've gone caribou hunting, imagine this bird the size of your thumb. I would hunt it.
Yeah. It's like a capture, so
Yeah.
I can drown it in brandy in a week.
Hunt and serve the bird for 1 week a year. They have been unsuccessful. However, that doesn't stop some from eating the bird. According to the New York Times, about 30,000 ortolan are still being captured and sold illegally in the south of France, where a single bird is going for $180 or the price of an ounce of coveted white truffles.
Wow.
Secret gatherings featuring the elusive meal have been documented. In 2008, Esquire writer Michael Paternity attended one such French dinner that served ortolan. The chef, who was breaking the law, had to call 40 of his friends in search of the bird, for there were none to be found, and almost everyone feared getting caught, risking fines and possible imprisonment. Wow. Yeah.
So is that what we're
Decadence.
going to go out and have for lunch after this?
I don't get it here in Texas.
Yeah, no.
But you can get brisket, which is better than that
There you
stupid
go.
fucking bird anyway. It's a
What a strange world like food can be, right?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting, yeah.
But that is for sure not someone who's connected to the animal's life.
Exactly.
Right? And so this is
Yeah.
like the best example of a complete, utter disconnect from nature.
Yeah.
First of all, and I am not into eating cute things, like a little tiny cute little bird. Like
Yeah.
I'd have to be hungry as fuck to eat a bird the size of my thumb.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's interesting too what you said about fish, that people didn't react to fish on your Instagram feed. You see that?
Give a shit.
Did you see that mimicked in the grocery store, right?
Yep.
Like fish, they have the whole thing out there.
Mhm,
No one
with
cares.
the head.
Can you imagine if you just put a full dead cow like in the meat section? People would lose their minds.
They would go crazy.
It's like,
Yeah.
why is that?
Well, they used to have lamb's head. You could get lamb's brains. My uncle used to cook lamb's brains. It was like, it's a, I guess, a delicacy.
Okay. How was
They
it?
would grill it. I don't remember. I was really young at the
Okay.
time. I remember I had it. I was like probably 5 or 6 years old.
Yeah.
But they would grill lamb's brains, like the whole head of the lamb.
Yeah.
And it's just real rare that you could find something like that in an actual super. You'd have to go some weirdo
Special
supermarket.
butcher.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, that's interesting.
All you see is meat. You don't see any of the animal. You don't see a hoof.
No,
You
we
know?
have words to describe it that you
Mhm.
know aren't that it's not from an animal.
Yeah, right. Like beef.
Like certain cuts, you know,
Yeah.
the cuts names are. We don't say, oh yeah, this is his, you know, back muscle, or this is his, you know.
I'll do you one better. We don't even have a name for moo cows. Like cows. Cow is a female animal,
Yeah.
and a bull is a male animal.
Mhm.
Like a bull moose is
Yeah.
at least a moose, but a bull is what? What is it?
A bull.
Yeah, it's a what is it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's a male. It's
Right.
just we're just calling it a male.
Yeah.
You know, like a bull elk is a bull. Like there's a bull, but that's an elk.
Yeah.
If someone says, "What did you go hunting?" Yeah, we went elk hunting. Did you get one? Yeah, I got a bull.
Right.
Or I got a cow.
Yeah.
But a cow, like a moo cow, like that's what is that? We don't even have a name.
I don't know.
There's no name.
Right.
That's weird.
Yes, that is weird.
Because that's all we do with them. We just eat them.
Yeah.
So we've decided the best way is just not even have a fucking name for the animal.
Yeah.
Which is so strange, right? At least we have a name for chicken. But chicken we don't give a shit about. So when you eat chicken, it's just chicken. We don't have to come up with a name like it's venison.
Yeah. We don't
You
need to
know?
use euphemisms or anything
Right.
like that. Yeah.
Buffalo though is buffalo. This is just buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is. Or bison. You can call it bison, but a bison is a bison.
Right.
You know, American buffalo is a bison.
Yeah. Could be a certain type of person buys that. It's more woke to the fact that they're, you know, eating meat from an animal.
I hate
I
to
don't know.
use the word woke.
Wanna punch me?
No, I don't hate it that way. I mean, it's just that it's a word. But
Yeah.
it's like, but bison meat is just bison.
Yeah.
You know, which is interesting,
It's
right?
yeah, and it's interesting because when they do polls about who is for and against meat eating, it tends the people who are most against meat eating tend to live in cities and be most removed from the food system. Whereas
yeah.
when they poll people who live in, you know, more rural areas, they're okay with it because they have the most interactions with the animals. You
Yeah.
know? So it's like the loudest voices against it tend to be people who have no clue, no intimacy or connection with it. You know.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a real issue with that in British Columbia, because British Columbia has outlawed grizzly bear hunting,
Yeah.
and they have a lot of them.
Yeah.
It's a real issue. So for people that live up there, now these animals are because it's been going on for a few years now. So now you'll have like 2-3-year-old mature bears who've never lived during a time where bear hunting was legal. And so these motherfuckers have no fear of people.
Yeah,
And
they're just doing whatever.
They're doing whatever. I mean, my friend had to shoot one entering his cabin. It was 6 feet from him when he shot it.
No shit. What did he
Yeah.
What did he have to do after? Was that did you have to call it in and like go
No,
through
this
the
was
process? Or?
this was actually before it was illegal.
Okay.
But this is how brazen these
Yeah.
enormous animals are. You're talking about like 600-pound predatory giant beast.
Yeah.
And it was coming into his cabin. It was like literally like 6 feet from his cabin when he shot it.
Wow. That's
And he
crazy.
opens the door, it's right there, and just boom,
Yeah, because it's like
into the dome.
yeah,
Yeah.
no fear. I can get through it.
But they had issues with it before. It was like it had broken in, and it had broken into their food supply. There was a couple different issues with this particular bear. And once they just decide, like, it would be literally like if you were really hungry and like a puppy was trying to keep you from getting some food. You'd be like, what? No, I'm gonna get to that fucking food. That puppy's not gonna stop me.
Yeah.
And luckily for the puppy, it has a rifle.
Yeah, it's a 30-6.
That's really the relationship between a human and a grizzly bear. They're so big.
Oh, dude, they're huge. They're like, what do they get up to? 1,500 pounds?
Yo. I'm on a live stream right now on YouTube, bro. Alright. Alright, guys. I'm about to get up out of here. I gotta go home and back. I gotta make sure I turn everything off. Turn that off. That's off. Speakers off. Alright. Where's my shit? I gotta get all this shit together. I could paint longer, but I'm hungry as hell right now, bro. I'm like real hungry. Alright, let me get out of here. Appreciate y'all watching the stream. Catch y'all next time.